Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Yarnflakes Podcast. My name is Audrey. I am a knitwear designer from the southwest of France, and this is a podcast all about my fiber arts. So, hi, thank you so much for joining me for this new episode. I hope you're doing well. I have a little episode for you this time where it's going to be a bit of a mix of everything. So yeah, I have a little pattern release to announce for two very simple accessories. Then I have a finished project that I'm very excited to show you because it is the promised and probably overhyped colorwork blanket that I have been knitting for about a year. And finally I will show you a new work in progress. So that's it. I'm going to start right away. You can find timestamps to all the different sections of the podcast in the description down below. So if you want to skip anything to refer to any project in particular, feel free to look at that. I also put links to everything that I talk about, the yarns and patterns that I will be mentioning, as well as links to my social media platforms and my patterns, which are for sale on Ravelry, Payhip, and also Lovecrafts, whenever they don't bug out the publishing feature, which happens from time to time. But as of when I'm talking to you, all of my patterns are also available on Lovecraft, so there's that. I'm going to start with a new pattern release, which is a little set of quick, easy knits. So I don't do a lot of smaller accessories, like besides socks, but from time to time, I think it's nice, especially in this period where you might want to get into some gift knitting. And yeah, I thought it would be fun to have some really quick and easy knits. So I have designed the Bosquet set, which is a hat and mittens matching combo. So I'm gonna go with the hat first. So it is a very, very simple, fun textured hat, which you start with the 2x2 brim, and then you have a texture motif, which is kind of hard to film and photograph, but basically you have lines of a slipped and twisted stitches, and of a little bit of a purl bump situation happening, and you also have a little elongated 1x2 cable running. So it's a very short and easy repeat, really intuitive, really accessible to beginners. And the hat pattern is charted, but also comes with written instructions for the textures. So that is like the most beginner friendly of the set. And yes, so you have the little repeat, which you can do however much you want. And then you have the crown with some decreases that are worked in the pattern. And it's really easy to do. I added a pom-pom, which is obviously optional. It's really, really quick. It uses Pearl Soho worsted twist yarn. So this yarn was gifted to me by Pearl Soho about a year ago. They contacted me to see if I would like to try out some of their yarn. And they were very kind to send me a couple of their bases, and the first one I'm actually showing to you is this one now. So this is the worsted twist. It's like a very thick, plump merino, which has a really nice definition, and this is the red panda colorway. And I knitted it at a very dense gauge to have something that is super warm and cozy. The pattern comes in different sizes for the hat, and yeah, like I said, you can knit the texture however long you want. So you can make it slouchier if you want. I have really thick hair and a lot of it, so I tend to have my brims be a little bit looser. But basically, yeah, you can see the different sizes that are available, and it is a really nice, beginner-friendly and quick knit. You only need like one skein or less, basically less than 200 meters. Which makes it a really, really fun and quick thing to do for the season. And I wanted to have matching mittens. So I decided to make like very simple mittens, again, super beginner friendly. because so you start with the ribbed cuff, and they have the snide thumb with a gusset. Basically, these are beginner friendly mittens. If you have already done some increases, because those are the one that you do here for the gusset, you're good to go. I have made quite a few patterns with this shape of mittens, and had several beginner people either test them for me or knit them through the years in which they've been published. And so it always works very well, and it's like really not a difficult thing to learn how to knit, especially when they're so simple. Here you just have a little repeat of the texture motif, and basically they're mirrored on the exterior of the hand, as you can see. And the palm, I'm trying. I do want to say, because in last episode I showed some lace which had some smocking and someone very kindly in the comments corrected my pronunciation, because I was saying it like smoking, like how you would smoke a cigarette. So it's smock. Am I saying that right? And the person was like visibly not sure that they were allowed to correct me. You absolutely can correct my pronunciation, and you should. I'm very grateful whenever you help me. My English has gone down in quality over the years, as I have not been studying it and speaking it with like properly enunciation skilled people. So I'm very grateful, and whenever you notice if I'm saying something wrong, like don't feel bad for correcting me. Like, I don't think that you are calling me an idiot just because you're helping me pronounce something. Like, just don't call me an idiot, but do let me know if I'm pronouncing things wrong. I don't promise that I will always get it right afterwards, because one, I need to remember, and two, sometimes it's just not an easy thing to integrate and have it go smoothly correctly the first time. And palm is one of these words which I'm always, I know how it's supposed to be said, but it's just hard to get it correctly. So stockinette palms, and the little texture which is like mirrored on the exterior side of the mittens. And so these are full mittens that I made for myself. You may remember, if you've been following me for a couple of years now, I made a pattern called the Albira mittens, which are a pair of mittens which are also rather simple, with a cable down the top here and a special cuff, and they are convertible. And so there is a full video tutorial in this older pattern making the mittens convertible. What I mean by convertible is this, basically. So you have a video tutorial explaining to you how to do it, and basically it allows you to do it on any type of mitten, because it's an afterthought type of convertible transformation. Basically you have to insert some scrap yarn in the palm side of the mitten. You knit the mitten as is, and then afterwards you basically cut it open and work some ribbing edgings. And so the Albira mittens, which I'm referring to, which are those white mittens with this tutorial in them, are actually my most popular knitting patterns. So I had lots of people talking to me about it and giving me some feedback. So I know that this is very beginner friendly as well, and it's super easy to learn and incorporate. And so this step-by-step tutorial, I decided to also put it in the Bosquet mittens pattern. So this way, like, you will also have that option in those mittens if you want to get these ones and want to have the option to make them convertible. This video will be available through that as well. So yeah, you can make the top of the mitten convertible. Some people also make the thumb. You will see in my testers project that some of them did either. But yes, if you need to use your thumb on your phone when you're outside, you can also do this on the thumb. Like I use my nose to fiddle with my phone. No, I usually don't use my phone if I'm outdoors in a mitten wearing situation, but it is super convenient indeed. So yeah, this is what you will get in this pattern. And in the mitten pattern, so there is also several sizes. It should fit from about a teenager to an adult large sizes. Whatever large means, you do have the measurements written down in the pattern description. And the mittens are charted only because you have like all the tops of all the different sizes where you do the decreases that are charted. But again, very easy to work, very beginner friendly and super quick. And so yeah, the little set is now available on all of my pattern shops. And so I can't do it on any other shop, but via Ravelry, if you get the set, the second pattern will be automatically 50% off. So you don't have to put it any code. If you get the two either together or one after the other, it doesn't matter. The second one will be half price. So yeah, and I also want to say that in case you are using a free pattern code, because I give a lot of free pattern codes to my Patreons and also to people who test knit for me. They get the code to have a free pattern of their choice. If you do this on Ravelry, this type of automatic sale does not work. I can't make it to work on Ravelry. However, you do absolutely have the right to the sale. So if you are using a coupon code like this to have one pattern for free, obviously the other one is not going to work half price automatically, but contact me and I will send you a code to force it, basically. So yeah, but in any other case, it should work fine, whether you get the pair at once or one after the other. And yeah, so I hope you will enjoy these. These are really like quick little knits in case you would like to start your gift knitting. If you are going to do any this year, I plan to do one thing mainly, which I haven't started, but it's just it's gonna be quick, hopefully. But yeah, these are the Bosquet little set, and it's time to move on to my finished project, which is the overhyped, and I feel like I'm doing too much and you're gonna be disappointed. Though, I mean, it's pretty cool. The colorwork blanket, which I just finished. So, did you move? I feel like I moved you. About a year ago, I started working on a colorwork blanket, which is the Persian Dreams worsted blanket by Janice Hope, which is a Canadian designer, if I'm not mistaken. And I finished it! So I'm going to go back a little and try to show it to you entirely, which is not going to be an easy feat because it is huge. So, it is a full-on colorwork blanket with a little moss stitch border and a bunch of very cool little hexagon that make up the blanket. Alright, let me go back. I'm trying not to talk when I'm back because I'm afraid you will not hear me as well. But, basically the Persian Dreams pattern, so you have several ones. You have one that is fingering weight, and I did the one that is worsted weight. because I wanted to work with a little bit of a thicker yarn, not to have such a daunting first experience in blankets. I did knit some blankets before, and I didn't enjoy them so much. I even started a scrap crochet blanket, like the granny stripe blanket. I find that I don't like having very large projects that are worked all at once. So I haven't found any fun into knitting blankets this way, which is why I was so excited to knit this, because it is knitted in different parts. So I chose the worsted weight one so that it would be a little bit quicker at first. And basically, when you get the pattern for the worsted weight version, you have 8 different motifs of the hexagons, and some of them are repeated. Like you knit some of them up to 4 times, I think. And so you place them symmetrically somewhere in the blanket. So you have, for example, this one, which I think is the first you knit, this one here, this one, which I really like. My favorite, it's this one. This is my favorite. I also, where is it? I also really like this one. And where is it? Yeah, you have this one. I don't think I showed you. So you have 8 different ones, but you can buy separately. You have some sets of other charts which the designer made. So I think this is a really cool system because you have a lot of content. If you don't want to have any oh, I really like this one as well. If you don't want to have any repeats in your blanket, you can get more designs and make only once each drawing. Or you can make it bigger, or you can make it another time. Anyway, it's really nice. I find that really cool. But the way I did it is I just followed the base pattern. So this is the base pattern with the 8 different motifs that are sometimes repeated. And I worked them just in one contrast color as a monochrome because I didn't want to fiddle with a lot of colors at once. And also because it was quite... I had to buy all the yarn for this, so it was quite expensive. It would have been very expensive to get a bunch of different colors, to be honest, for me when I started it. And I really like how it looks just in black and white. And it's really big. So, the way you do it is you knit each hexagon separately. So you cast on here at the center, and you work in the round each hexagon while making increase lines here, which forms points of the hexagon. And once you're done, the pattern instructs you to either place all stitches on hold, and those will be the ones that are in the center of the blanket, or sometimes you have to work borders, and the pattern tells you make the border on 2 sides or on 3 sides, like here, and you basically work moss stitch flat while continuing the increases for the points. And this way, like, it progresses super quickly. Like I said, it took me about a year to knit it, but I did like super long pauses. And yeah, making one hexagon probably only took me like about 4 hours. If I was doing it in the evenings, I would do like one in 3 to 4 days, because yes, I don't work in the evening. Sometimes I get people who are very nicely concerned about my worker schedule and rhythm, because I guess I'm rather productive. However, I am very strict with my work hours, and I don't work at evenings and in the weekends. I take my weekends on Friday at noon. is noon midday at midday. By not work, I mean like the only thing I'm doing is like if I have any pattern or tests related questions, then I will look into it most of the times. But it's only in these times that I knit on personal projects like this. So evenings, it would take me like 3 to 4 evenings to make one hexagon. And if I was to do it on the weekend, then I could make like 3 or 4 hexagons in a weekend. And so yeah, it's rather quick and satisfying, and I really enjoyed that. So yeah, that's the process of making all the little hexagons, and then you need to assemble everything. And that was a bit daunting. Now, keeping in mind that I'm someone who I don't mind seaming, and I do like grafting a kitchen stitch. I like doing it. It's not a problem for me. So but I never did it in such a large scale, basically. So what you do is you first have to attach the borders together. Basically, they need to wrap around, like to overlap each other. And so you need to seam one side here, and then you also need to seam the other side to the wrong side. And I'm really happy with how it looks, because so you have a separate file that tells you how to assemble the blanket, and it's a step-by-step picture tutorial, which usually does not work at all for me. I don't know, I really have trouble understanding instructions via pictures. I don't know what it is, but I've always had trouble processing and learning things this way. I don't know, the picture processing part of myself is a bit too dumb, perhaps. So I really wasn't sure that it was going to work, and I'm quite proud of myself because I think it looks really neat. See? Basically, she really describes how to put your needle in and out, etc. And that seemed a bit confusing at first, but as I started doing it, it just worked really well. Basically, you see it kind of pushes out a knit stitch line here, so I find it quite neat, and I'm very proud of myself because usually my seaming isn't pretty. Like I said, I don't mind doing it, but I'm not someone who's very great at it and at making neat things. I'm not a perfectionist at all in this way, and good for me because I'm usually not very good at making things look super neat and clean when it's seaming things and stuff. So I was really pleased with myself because that's quite rare for me. So yeah, you seam this way, then you seam the wrong side as well so it doesn't keep flapping, and basically you have this little depth effect on the border, which I think is a really cool detail. Yeah. And once you've done that with the border, then you have to graft all the hexagons together. Basically, every time you see like a white line between the hexagons, this was kitchen stitch. And it took me, like seaming it all together, it took me a full weekend, so 2 days and a half, like doing it in a pretty relaxed way. And it was quite funny because at the same time, people were completing the sci-fi cowl, which was my mystery knit along of this year, which is a cowl that you have to graft together at the end to make a full circumference. And so it's a grafting that is on 134 stitches. And so people were starting to do this, and I had like little echoes and little messages of people like being quite exhausted at doing this grafting on the cowl, while I myself was making a grafting on probably 1,000 more plus stitches. And so yeah, I had the people who were suffering through the grafting on my design while I was doing this one, and so I was like receiving those messages and like, yeah, Well, I'm doing this right now, so I feel you, but it was kind of funny. But yeah, have little bits of wool everywhere. But like, I like grafting, so I wasn't expecting to hate it, but I did think it would be a bit tedious at some point because it's quite big, and not at all. It was like quite meditative and relaxing. It was much more pleasant than I thought it would. I wasn't even sick of it. Basically, it was fine. I just watched some movies while doing it, and it was just great. And it went all by itself. So it was even easier, and like in terms of like big experience that can be a bit tiresome. It wasn't at all, even though I was expecting it to be at the end, but not at all. And yeah, I am super happy with the result. It's quite big. It's bigger than what it's supposed to be because my gauge is looser. And so when I washed it and blocked it, I spread it over a queen-sized bed, and it was like going over the mattress. I couldn't make it fit. So, but I'm really, really happy with the result. I used Hjertegarn Limma, which is the Danish type of yarn that I bought on Obi website, which has a lot of cheap commercial type of yarn. And it's a pure Peruvian wool, which is quite nice for color work. It was just fine. And yeah, it was affordable enough for the amount that was needed. And I used less yarn than I thought. I used 1,750 meters for the main color and 950 meters for the contrast color. So it still weighs like 1 kilo and 300 grams. So that's quite the beast. But yeah, what else do I have to say about this? Yeah, I love it. If you're interested at all in making it, I highly encourage that you do. It's not complicated at all. It's basically, there's two things. It's just a big project. So if you know you have the patience for, what did I do with my hair? If you know you have the patience for big projects, not a problem. And the two things that I think will determine whether or not this is a project for you is, the first one is that you need to know how to handle, or to learn how to handle color work in a small circumference, because as you're starting each hexagon, you're knitting on a very small circumference, so you have to magic loop, like even if it's just at the very end. Then if you want to go with mini circulars, then 30 centimeter, then 40, then 50, then 60, you can do that. But no matter what, at the beginning, you will have to do magic loop here. So yeah, you just need to know how to handle your tension in that, which is not a difficult thing. It's just that you need to. I know that if you, if you're someone who knits tight, like it's still an obstacle to constantly make the effort of letting the yarn be smooth and not pulling it. So that's one thing that you need to be comfortable with, color work in small circumference. And the second thing is it's about the grafting. You need to, grafting, because it's a lot, but you also need to be able to fiddle a bit with it and arrange it yourself. What I mean is that there's going to be some holes here and there, like here in the joint. There's going to be gaps, so you have to fill them in to tighten them by pulling on your stitches or seaming them close. And when you're doing the Kitchener stitch, when 3 hexagons meet, it's offset. They're not perfectly aligned because of the Kitchener stitch that is just offset 1 stitch. So you need to fiddle a bit so that the increase line here, here, and here of each hexagon, so that they sort of meet at a similar point. So basically, when you're doing the Kitchener stitch, at some point you're gonna have to check where you are, if it matches, and if not, you have to take like 2 stitches at once instead of going one by one. And you have to figure this out for yourself and basically fiddle with it. And I'm just saying this because I know some knitters really don't like when things do not go very by the rule, so to say. Like I know some knitters just get stuck if there's nothing, if something is not working properly in a strict and organized manner, and they don't like having to mess around a bit to make things work. But if that's something that you don't have any issue with and you're able to just mess around with things a bit and arrange things for the Kitchener stitch, if that's something that you are able and comfortable doing, then that's great. Again, it's not something that's difficult, it's just something that you have to do basically. And if it annoys you when you like, for example, if you're knitting some sort of lace and you realize that you forgot to do a decrease and it doesn't disturb the lace pattern, but you still feel like you have to unravel everything to where you missed the decrease. If you're someone like this, then maybe like this will annoy you. However, if you're someone who will just be like, okay, I can't see the mistake, so I will just do the decrease now and whatever, you just fiddle with things, then that's fine. Basically, it sort of depends on your own, the way you like to knit, basically. So, yeah. But overall, it's very fun to work. I really liked it, and I'm really happy with the result. Did I forget to say anything? I don't think so. I do plan to make another one. The designer has quite a few other patterns with a similar construction, but I believe I talked about it when I casted this one on last year. I really want to make the Indian Nights one, which is like a fingering wear with lots of colors, with lots of motifs, and I really want to make that one. And the thing is, the construction for that one seems to be a little bit more, well, fiddly. There are sticks, but that's not my problem. It's just that it's the assembling the blanket that seems to be a little bit more troublesome. Like I've read some project pages and someone mentioned having to provisionally cast on 800 stitches to do the grafting, which does not appeal to me. But I absolutely love this design. I think it's gorgeous. And I really want to make it. And so I will see if I do it by the book or if I can figure out things now that I'm a bit more confident in that blanket assembling thing. I will see how I'll do it, but I do have the yarn to make it because I had some leftovers that would match, and I bought a few extra colors that I was missing. So yeah, I think I will do it. Not now, but maybe in a few months I will start this next big project. But yes, that's it for the Persian Dreams blankets. If you have any questions, do let me know. I would be very happy to give any more precisions on how it was knitting it, in case you would like to make it and are curious about certain things. If I wasn't clear or anything, please don't hesitate. And yes, moving on. I wanted to show you a new work in progress. A new design which I'm working on. I'm working on making a bunch of designs ready and sending them to testers before the holidays for next year, because people must hate me. If you are on my testers list or on my Patreon page, I do apologize. Everyone must hate me because I've been sending a testing call per week since the end of September, just because I want to have the tests running for a long period of time for the testers, and so that I'm done and that in December I don't have to work a lot. Basically, that's my plan. So one of the last designs that I am working on for next year is, I'm working with Filcolana pernilla, and yes, that color, I know. How shocking, how unusual for me, so unique. We've never seen me in this color, right? Except for the hats and mittens I just showed you, and for this shawl that I have here, and for the 8 garments that I already have in this exact color. What can I say? I like rusty reds. So yeah, this is Filcolana pernilla, which is a brand that I really like. This is their pure Peruvian wool. And they have several weights of this. Actually, the mittens I showed you, these ones, were made in the worsted weight version of this yarn. And like, I've messed them around because I've worn them in snow, hiking in Romania, everywhere. And so they're holding up. I really like the yarn. I think it's great for color work. I think it's great in textures. It's really nice. Pernilla is a sport weight yarn. And I really like it. It's worsted spun, so it's smooth. It's if I compare it to another famous sport weight for us Europeans, which would be Ulysses by De Rerum Natura, this is slightly softer. It's smoother because it's worsted spun, whereas Ulysses is woolen spun. And so this one doesn't bloom as much, but it's a bit more fluid, a bit more drapey. So that's kind of the range, and they have a beautiful color range. They're affordable, and they release a lot of new colors quite often. And a few months ago they released this really beautiful color, which is number 357. So I had to get it. Of course I did. And I'm making a cabled sweater. I wanted to make a simpler cable sweater, like a sweater that would be like super cozy and with like a big cables panel on the front, but that would actually be simpler than some other of my cable sweater designs. It's going to release in March, which is the same. Like, apparently March is red cabled sweater month, because this year actually, I also did release a cabled red sweater in March. So that's what we're doing. But for this one, it's going to be knitted bottom up. It's going to be a drop shoulder sweater. I want it super loose and cozy. I plan to make a mock turtleneck, so quite high. And this is what I have. So it's a bit difficult to show on camera, especially if it's all scrunched up in the needle. But the center cable, I wanted rather flat cable because they're going to be knit in a yarn that's rather fine. So it's sport weight. I'm using 3.75 millimeter needles. I don't know exactly what gauge I'm gonna get. Let's see. But I wanted them to lay rather flat to have this sort of simple cable look to them. And so the main center cable is this one with some seed stitch here in the little crosses. Then surrounding it, you have a pearl zigzag motif here. And then the rest of the cable, which are gonna be, I want all the front to be fully cables here on the shoulders, which is gonna be lovely to grade. I don't know why I'm doing this. Basically, it's going to mean that I'm gonna have to have rather wide space between the sizes. No, I'm not gonna be able to make like darts or stuff, but I mean, I'm going to compromise tedious grading in order to have a rather simple cabled sweater to knit, and that looks cool. So yeah, the other little cables that are going to be all over until the end of the shoulders, and the front are these, which I absolutely like. I'm gonna put them on the sock sometime next year as well. So these are really simple. This one is like actually the same one that is on the hat here. You know, the 1/2, but reversed. And it sort of makes that little feathery effect here. Really easy to work. And the other one is like a plump little medallion cable. And I added it some nipples columns for texture. And so this is what it's going to look like. I don't know if you see what I mean by flat looking cables. Like it sort of looks like a cable panel that you would find in a commercial ready-to-wear sweater, because they tend to be knit in fine yarns, and so they look a bit flat. That's what I'm trying to achieve, basically. And yeah, I really like it. What I'm also trying to do is to make it super easy and intuitive to knit. And the way I'm doing it is basically you will only need to follow this center part here, because so every other round is a rest round. Basically, you just knit the knits, purl the pearls, and that's super easy. And the overall cables are simple. They're simpler cables. There's no like big crosses like there is on some of my other designs. This is much simpler. And basically, you know that you need to do this one every other row. So every uneven round of the chart, you need to do this cross. And this one here, this one, you need to do them only in certain rounds. And so I made it so that if you just look at the center chart, you know it acts as a landmark, so to say. I say landmark because I don't know how to say a landmark in any other situations than land related things. We say repère in French, so if you have any idea what I mean, please help. Like some sort of things that help you keep track of where you are and that help you see things like this anywhere. So if you would be looking at this chart, there would be a little symbol that will tell you, oh, I'm on the row where I need to make this cross. But you don't have to look at this chart. And I really like that because the chart, if I put them all in the same page, it's too big. And then if you print them, they're too small. And I hate doing this. So I know it's more convenient to have all the charts on all the same page, and I always try to do this whenever it's possible. But here it would be way too wide, and if I keep the margin of a normal page, okay, I know that there's a problem with this because North Americans, you don't have an A4 page system, and I can't deal with that. I'm sorry. So you're using like letter size, I think or is the letter size a small one? Anyway, the rest of the world uses an A4 page system, so that's why I lay out my patterns and if you do this landscape, basically if the chart is too wide, then when you print it, it's super small and it's so hard to see, and I really don't want that because like I don't have a great eyesight. I get optical like fatigue quite easily, and so I personally hate it, so I try not to do this. So I would rather do little tricks in the design so that you have a chart that is a decent size and you don't need to look at the other one. So that's what I'm doing here. This way you will only follow one chart and you will know exactly what to do with the rest instinctively once you have set up the columns. So I've written some instructions, and hopefully this will work out smoothly, and I will see with my testers what they think and what we can do to make it work even better. But that is the plan, to make this an easy intuitive knit overall. So yeah, it's going quicker than I thought, because I started this like only 3 days ago, and I've already done all of this. I thought it would be longer because the yarn is not that big, but I've already knitted all of this. The back is all, I didn't even say, the back is going to be all stockinette, and the sleeve are going to be all stockinette. So it's just going to be the front. That's going to be the thing. So yeah. Yeah, I'm planning not to make it super cropped because I can foresee my mom stealing it from me. And she has a very different body shape than we don't have that big of a different size, but we have a very different body shape, and this is very interesting because for me because if I have to think that I want something that will fit both of us, it's very interesting to try to find the middle ground, because she has like the opposite body shape of mine, and so she usually likes sweaters to be longer, and so I'm trying to have like a middle. I'm aiming for 38 centimeter, so maybe like 1.5 times that. I mean, that once more, then half probably will get me to the body length I want. Maybe a bit less, actually. I don't know. But yes, I hope this is really fun to knit and really mindless, and I hope to have it ready soon for testing. And yeah, it will come next year in March. Little sport weight jumper for the end of winter, spring for us in the north, and yeah, for the beginning of winter for you all in the southern hemisphere. And I think this is the first time in 4 years of podcasting, over 4 years of podcasting, that I was able to say hemisphere without missing some syllables and things. Anyway, that is it for the knitting content of this episode. I hope you enjoyed. I quickly want to talk at the end about my Patreon page. So if you're unaware, I run a Patreon page when you can support me and my work. Basically, you have access to 1 or 2 designs of your choice per month. So it's another way for you to get the pattern if you want to get one, if you want to buy one. You can go on Patreon and you will have a code that will let you get 1 or 2 patterns of all my self-published patterns during the month. And I also do monthly special talks, videos that are either technical topics that we talk about, yarn reviews, or design behind the scenes vlogs. It depends. And when you join Patreon, you can see all the content that has been posted in the last 2 years. So you can come in and look at that and catch up and see if you like, and then you can leave just after 1 month if you like. There is absolutely no need or feeling that you have to stay for a certain amount of time. And this month, for November, the theme is picking up stitches. So I talk about and I show you how I like to pick up stitches in like some of the most basic situations. And I also talk about the picking up ratio, what it means, like when people say pick up at a 2 out of 3 or 1 out of 2 or 3 out of 4 ratio, and in what circumstances I like to go for a specific ratio, whereas in which circumstances I don't want to follow a strict ratio and I'd rather pick up a certain amount of stitches by spreading them around, even if it means not respecting a ratio. Right, ratio, right? Ratio, yeah, Latin things. And yeah, that's it. That's on my Patreon page. So if you're interested to have a look, I would be very happy to welcome you over there. And yeah, so this is it for this month's episode. I will see you in a couple of weeks, where we will be going over again the colorwork route. And yeah, So this is it for this episode. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in another video soon. Bye!